Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and thank you for clicking on the video. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Okay, so what we're going to see, I think, going forward, we're going to see the Africans and the Caribbeans who don't want this division that's going on with Black Americans. And it is a division, and it has to be a division. We have to do this. We have to make a statement, and we have to draw the line. But I think we're going to see the cream rising to the top. Here is a man from the Caribbean, what we call a West Indian, and he has something to say.
Stop the disrespect of Black
I've
Americans.
already apologized to the Black Americans for all the disrespect that the island people, the Africans, the Spanish people, all of us that are in America, all the people that we know we're not white, but some of you still think you're white. But I have apologized to Black Americans because we have disrespected them. We have disrespected them. All our immigrants, we have disrespected them. They are right. They have been fighting and fighting and fighting. That is why we were even allowed to come to America. And yet still we disrespect them continuously. West Indian people, island people, Africans, Spanish people, wherever you are, from South America, from DR, from Puerto Rico, wherever you are, we have disrespected Black Americans. And we don't understand that they are right. They have been fighting. And it's because of them why we were even allowed to come to America. We have to cut out this shit. I don't want to see none of this shit anymore on social media. We are fucking one. We are all fighting for the same cause. We are all fighting for the same cause. We are all black. Do you think that the system see us as any different? We are the fucking same, and they have been fighting for us, for black people. So cut that fuckery.
Well, I agree with everything he said. I agree with everything. Pan-Africanism started here in the United States because we have been able to see the system and what it is. And we have always understood that it included all black people, not just Black Americans. And we had the courage to take a stand and fought for our freedom and really wanted them to come to the United States. Yes, we wanted allies, but instead of coming here and joining in fellowship, they came over here showing their asses. And they've been doing that for at least the last 30 years, showing their asses. And I'm not black and I'm not like them. And my parents told me to stay away from you and all this kind of stuff. Things that have been very hurtful to Black Americans. Now, prior to this generation that we're in now, a Black American would never tell an African or a Caribbean to go back home, go back to Africa, go back where you came from. My generation wouldn't have done that, and definitely not the generations that came before me. We wouldn't have told them to, you go back to Africa, making fun of their food, making fun of the way they look. And even if they look, and this is the thing, there are a lot of Black Americans who didn't get into the admixture, depending on where you lived. Some Black Americans mixed with more different tribes and with the whites and the indigenous people more than others. So they might retain an actual African look based on what we call an African look. But the reality is, if they are of our lineage, they're not African. They're American. I don't care if they look like a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, a Cameroonian, a South African, a Kenyan. I don't care what they look like because they got mixed up and people came into this transatlantic slave trade from all over Africa. There are Black Americans that look like Somalis. So it all got mixed up. But it doesn't matter what they look like. What's important is who they are. They are Black Americans if they are of our lineage. And they need to stop talking about you look like this and we look like you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the lineage that we're concerned about. But back to what I was saying. There was a time when Black Americans really revered Africa and sort of romanticized Africa and wanted Africans to come here and thought that we could be in brotherhood with them. They came over here with that bullshit. And now every time you look around, they're whining that they call me an African booty scratcher. Now, I don't doubt that some of those Africans were called African booty scratchers. Black Americans were called other Black Americans an African booty scratcher because guess what? We know we came from Africa. But I don't believe every African that came out of Africa was called an African booty scratcher. What they do is that they'll get one thing going, one person will say something, and they'll all just jump in it and start saying the same thing. They're liars, for one thing. That's one thing you have to acknowledge about those Africans. And I don't say that about the people from the Caribbean because I haven't found that to be true. But the Africans will get something started, and all of them will repeat the same thing. And the same thing can't possibly have happened to everybody. I have never called anybody an African booty scratcher. The first time I ever heard that term was when I read a book by a Nigerian author, and she was talking about it. And then I started asking people about it. But people in my age group and in my region of the country didn't know anything about it. I'm from a family where you don't call people names. That was a real no-no in my family. We couldn't call each other names and we couldn't call other kids names. We couldn't even say the N word in our house. But there are a lot of Black Americans just like me who were brought up just like me that we don't do that. And Black Americans wanted them here, advocated for them to be here. And when they first came here, when something happened to somebody from the Caribbean or from Africa, Black people would be the first ones on the front lines, fighting for them, advocating for them, speaking truth to power, to the system. And it's just very recently that Black Americans have been giving these Black immigrants the middle finger. It's just recently. So yesterday, an African woman came on and said basically the same thing that this man has said. And that lets you know that they know they're wrong. That lets you know that they know they're wrong and that they've been doing it for a long time because otherwise they wouldn't be coming on here apologizing. So anyway, I just thought that you would like to see this. And I think we're going to be seeing more of that. Because when they realize we're not going to advocate for you, we don't care if you get deported. We don't care if they shut your businesses down. We don't care if you get fired. We don't care what happens to you. You're on your own. You have no advocacy in us. I think we're going to see a lot more of this and not a minute too soon. So that ought to make us feel better that these people know what they've been doing was wrong, but they're just going along with their group. But now that it's been called out, they're acknowledging it. And that's a good thing. But let me know what you think about it. Thank you for listening and have a good evening.